Hello guys, it's Moo Journey here and I hope you're having a great day. Before going into the video, please leave a like, put a comment and sub to my channel. Give it a try. I promise you the content will always get better and better with me more learning. Let's go this journey together guys. I hope you have a great day and let's go. Manhunt is a stealth-based psychological horror video game published by Rockstar North and released by Rockstar Games in November 2003 for the PS2 with the Xbox and Microsoft Windows the following year. Although it was generally well received by critics, the game created considerable controversy before and after its release. It was banned outright in several countries and was implicated by the media in a UK murder, although the police denied it. On October 2007, its sequel Manhunt 2 was also released amidst controversy. As of March 26, 2008, the Manhunt franchise has sold 1.7 million copies according to Take-Two Interactive. Manhunt is a third-person stealth action game. The game consists of 20 levels and 4 bonus levels that can be unlocked. The levels are referred to as scenes. Players survive the scenes by dispatching enemy gangs called hunters, occasionally with firearms or primarily by stealthily executing them in a bloody, over-the-top way. The rating at the end of each level is largely affected by the gruesomeness of the killings and the speed of completion. Executions are preferred in order to gain a higher score, thus encouraging players to play as vigorously as possible. The game's locals are full of dark spots and shadows where the player can hide while being chased by the hunters. Hiding in these dark areas makes the player literally invisible. Over the course of the game, the player uses a wide variety of weapons, ranging from plastic bags, baseball bats, crowbars, and all sorts of bladed items to firearms later on in the game. If the player takes a beating, painkillers can be found, which replenish health. The player can strike walls or through items such as bottles, cans, bricks, and severed heads to make noise to distract hunters. Manhunt also makes use of the PlayStation's 2 optional USB microphone and the Xbox Live microphone feature on the Xbox version of the game. Which such a device is connected, the player can use the sound of his or her own voice to distract in-game enemies. So the game takes place in gritty, crime-infested Gaza City. Gaza City is a fictional city in the 3D GTA universe featured as the main setting of the Manhunt franchise. It is depicted as being in a state of severe poverty and decay, with a dysfunctional and corrupt police force completely in the pocket of Lionel Starkweather. Large swaths of the city are filled with abandoned buildings, dilapidated areas that have become overrun by violent gangs. Gaza City is an extreme caricature of a Rust Belt city, taking inspiration from places like Dayton, Ohio, Camden, New Jersey, Flint, and Detroit, Michigan, East St. Louis, Illinois, and Gary, Indiana. It is implied that Gaza City was once a booming industrial center in its past, as evidenced by its large factories and stockyards, before it fell into a state of deep neglect and became crippled by crime and corruption. The events that happened throughout the game in Gaza City can be attributed to Lionel Starkweather, who lives in a massive guarded estate far from the rotted inner city. Later on, The story opens with a female journalist reporting on the convict James Earl Cash. The journalist is the deteriorationist of Manhunt. She is a young reporter who was hoping to expose Starkweather's activities for personal gain. Her appearance is a young woman with brown hair and eyes. She is wearing a red jacket with a white shirt underneath, a short black skirt, and black high-heeled boots. It is unknown how, but the journalist somehow discovered Cash's execution was fake in order to use him on another of Starkweather's snuff films. After watching Cash's execution, she began searching for clues of his location, intending to have him as a witness to accuse Starkweather. Mysteriously, the journalist did discover Cash's location after he is captured by Ramirez. James Earl Cash is the playable protagonist of Manhunt. He is a former inmate of Darkwood's Penitentiary who was freed from death row and set loose in Gaza City. James Earl Cash is a man freed from death and in return must participate in a snuff film directed by Lionel Starkweather. It would appear that Starkweather chose his candidate quite well, as Cash displays no outward emotion or regret while butchering his pursuers and is no stranger to violence. Cash is shown to be very capable of making sure his enemies are dead, and his executions are nothing short of brutal. He is also quite comfortable with firearms and gun combat. Simply put, he is a highly skillful assassin. What about his personality? Well, Cash remains rather emotionless and completely fearless throughout most of the storyline and during gameplay. He is an expert stealth tactician, able to easily lose, hide from, and sneak around the most proficient of hunters, remaining completely calm as he targets to kill them from the shadows. However, he does display some sympathy for his kidnapped family members. He also does show considerable fear when facing the Cerberus and when surrounded by the CCPD in cutscenes. Cash is an extraordinarily dangerous individual, capable of inflicting fatal injuries using simple everyday objects, such as the plastic bag. Cash rarely talks in the game's cutscenes. He is only heard saying "oh shit" during the closing cutscenes for Road to Ruin, and "what the fuck" in the ending cutscenes of the Graveyard Shaft while being caught off guard by Cerberus. Cash is also heard talking more significantly in the closing cutscene for Divided They Fall and in the opening and mid-gameplay cutscenes for press coverage, both times due to him being paired with the journalist. The Hoods. They are the first gang of hunters that appear in Manhunt. The Horde consists of a loose-knit group of common street thugs and hitmen for hire, and are the first group of gang James Earl Cash encounters. They are unruly and disorganized, purely in the hunt for financial gain. The Hoods wear dark nondescript street clothes along with a variety of masks and hoods. They're also armed with blackjacks, crowbars, and wooden baseball bats, but lack any firearms compared to later gangs such as the Skins, Innocents, War Dogs, and Smileys. The Hoods are rather basic, with no quirks. Despite this, they can still be dangerous. Many of the Hoods appear to be unaware of the danger they are in, being dismissive of Cash and chatting noisily about women and cars. They are impatient and easily distracted, tending to patrol the turf alone. Naturally, their sloppy and reckless mannerisms make them easy pickings, and thus perfect first victims for cash. The skins are a group of hunters comprised of white supremacist white power skinheads and neo-Nazis. They patrol the junkyard turf aggressively in small packs and brutally attack trespassers. Members wear traditional skinhead attire, including black shirts, camouflage pants, army boots, shaved heads, and suspenders. Many skins also wear hockey masks to intimidate their foes. Some of their hockey masks are painted to resemble the Confederate battle flag. They also wear clothing and armbands that are covered with mock Nazi symbols resembling the Odal ruin. And members can be heard swearing allegiance to the Aryan Brotherhood, spouting of extremist fundamentalist views and expressing hatred towards other races. Several of the skins talk to themselves about wanting to make their dead fathers proud of them. The skins believe that Cash is a mixed race, mudblood, or half-breed, and hunt aggressively for him, although that may have been a lie told to them by Ramirez or Starkweather to give them further motivation to kill Cash. Many of the skins are also violently sadistic, having joined the hunt for the chance to kill. Their weapons of choice are the metal bat, nail gun, and the knife. Compared to the Hood, whom Cash faces in the previous scenes, the skins are better equipped and are more willing to work together. However, they are still rather cowardly, especially when they are getting beaten or when they are knocked down. The War Dogs are a sadistic paramilitary gang of hunters composed of war veterans, huntsmen, soldiers for hire, and survivalists. They patrol the abandoned Kansas City Zoo and are headquartered in the Dark Woods district. The War Dogs are well-organized foes, operating militia style and receiving all their orders from their leader, Ramirez. They wear a variety of camouflage clothing, bulletproof vests, plaid shirts, trucker caps, and face paint. Some also wear full-on ghillie suits. The War Dogs are skilled hunters, often setting traps or ambushes for Cash and using squad tactics to flush him out of hiding. War Dogs are just as dangerous up close, hacking away at Cash with machetes. Unlike some of other gangs, the War Dogs express genuine satisfaction in killing the runners for Starkweather's movies and treat them like trophy kills. Some even talking about skinning Cash's corpse. They can also be heard communicating with army phrases and codes. Although the War Dogs are dangerous in groups, some members lack discipline and easily lose their temper when Cash gets away, leading them to wander off in pursuit. Their weapons of choice are the machete, the tranquilizer, the revolver, the sniper rifle, and the shotgun. The War Dogs first appear after Cash leaves the junkyard and is apprehended by Cerberus operatives. The Innocents are a vicious and well-armed gang operating out of the East Los Alamos district. They are often seen using firearms, particularly revolvers or sawn-off shotguns, but are also armed with knives, axes, and sickles. They also prefer to use combined force instead of individual skill. The Innocents have two factions. The bulk of the Innocents are composed of the Skulls, more commonly called Scullies, a group of Latino goths gangbangers, particularly Serranos and Satanists who also belong to local gang sets such as Malos or Muerte 187. They wear dark-colored jeans, track pants, wife beaters, or turn hoodies, along with Grim Reaper masks, skull face paint, and gang tattoos. They are also the baby faces. A group of overweight perverts and mentally deficient murderers who Starkweather hired to add muscle to the gang. Their name comes from the creepy porcelain doll masks with oversized glass eyes they wear. They usually wear Hawaiian shirts, flannel shirts, brown or blue jean pants, pajama pants, sneakers, and slippers. Many of the Scullies seem to be high on drugs. They also can be heard muttering to themselves about a dark clairvoyant figure guiding them to kill Cash, along with curses and angry groans. The baby faces, meanwhile, are suggested to be genuine psychopaths and pedophiles, who add a distressing contrast to the skulls. Many of them appear to be intellectually disabled, acting in a disturbing childlike nature. The Smileys are a mentally disturbed gang made up of the former inmates of Darkwood Penitentiary. After James Earl Cash's execution was faked, they broke free and killed all the guards, taking over the entire asylum. Much to Starkweather's pleasure, they formed a gang called the Smileys and were employed by Starkweather for use in his snuff horror film. Members of the Smileys are genuinely insane or mentally unstable murderers and kill Starkweather's runner for their own sick pleasure. They wield a variety of weapons such as meat cleavers, knives, and several firearms, including revolvers or shotguns. Most of the Smileys wear a yellow smiley face, some covered in blood, and others kill or please stop me scrawled messily across them. But some wear face paints instead. Smileys are also covered in tattoos and can be seen wearing blouses or garters, as some believe they are females. Some of them seems to be capable of taking basic orders, however, as they can be seen guarding on potent locations and being sent to kill Cash on command. They are some of the toughest adversaries Cash will face off against in the game, and since Cash used to be a prisoner at Darkwood, it's possible some of them could be his ex-fellow inmate. The Cerberus are the final group of hunters appearing in Manhunt. They are highly organized and effective mercenary force who work and protect Lionel Starkweather. The Cerberus are a private army hired by Starkweather to mainly protect him and his estate. They also help in the production of his snuff films by setting up cameras, blocking off streets, and transporting James Earl Cash from location to location. They later on mercilessly hunt for Cash in Starkweather's estate once he breaks free. As befitting their presence late in the game, outside of cutscenes, the Cerberus are highly trained and efficient killers that rarely travel alone. They appear to be from military or police backgrounds, as they have a great knowledge of military tactics, training, and phrases. They can be heard communicating in code and discussing military tactics in their fight against Cash. Some Cerberus are also former federal government agents. That those individuals bring to the table is a testament to their overall high level of a professionalism or skill. They serve as the most dangerous group of enemies for Cash to face off in the game. The Cerberus are armed to the teeth with heavy handguns, shotguns, assault rifles, sniper rifles, and occasionally it's unknown whether the Cerberus depicted in game are exclusively Starkweather's private army or whether they are part of a larger organization serving multiple illicit clients. They dress in all black combat uniform with full body armor, ballistic helmets, and tactical gas mask equipped. They also carry what appears to be smoke or flash grenades on their person. Although these are never used in the game, surprisingly, the gas masks they wear aren't provided with night vision goggles, a disadvantage that Cash easily exploits. This may imply that the design of their outfit is mostly for intimidation purposes rather than to give them a practical and tactical advantage. Their leader wears the same uniform, However, he himself does not wear their signature gas mask, but rather a helmet and what is either an eyepiece or eye patch. His name is Pixie. He is a deranged and cannibalistic mass murderer who wears a skinned pig's head over his face while viciously slaughtering victims with a powerful chainsaw. Appearing to be an obese, naked, middle-aged man, he is almost completely inhuman in behavior and has lost all connection with reality. His mind has degraded into an animalistic or childlike state, as he seems to only be capable of speaking a few basic words or mimicking a pig's grunts. His dialogue also implies he is mentally challenged. He is still smart enough, however, to function a chainsaw. He is trademark weapon, but he is a remorseless killer, butchering all those who came across his path with his chainsaw. Because of this, Pixie became Starkweather's star performer in his snuff films and slaughtered dozens, possibly hundreds, of targets prior to Cash. Between films, Starkweather kept Pixie chained up in the abandoned attic of the estate while feeding him the remains of those who were killed in the films, which were delivered to him by Cerberus guards as a means of disposing of corpses. Despite the fact that they themselves were cold-blooded professional killers, many of the Cerberus operatives treated him with both genuine fear and disgust. Pixie is the final major adversary Cash faces off against in the game and is a deadly opponent. Sometime before the events of Manhunt, Pixie was enlisted by Starkweather to perform in his snuff film ring. It's likely that Pixie was James Earl Cash's predecessor in the snuff movies films. In Kansas City, Pixie had a long and successful career in Starkweather's company, starring in such movies as Pixie Greatest Hits and Pixie Bloopers. However, he soon became a liability over time due to his overly savage and unpredictable behavior, eventually falling out of Starkweather's favor. But as Starkweather still deemed Pixie useful, a means of disposing of corpses, he locked Pixie away in the attic of this estate before employing James Earl Cash. While locked away in the attic of the estate, Cerberus guards are seen feeding Pixie human remains in the opening cutscenes of the grounds for assault. Later in the opening cutscene of Train to Kill, Pixie is seen physically breaking the chains that bind him and escapes. After arming himself with a chainsaw, shortly after, Cash is transported. Lionel Starkweather, also known as the director, is a major character and the main antagonist of Manhunt, the twisted criminal mastermind behind the whole scheme of the game. Lionel Starkweather is the man responsible for James Earl Cash's execution being a ruse, and sends him to his quest for producing a snuff film for him by murdering a various gangs called Hunters under his orders in exchange for his freedom from death row. Though this turned out to be a lie, he communicates to Cash through an earpiece early on in the game, until Cash kills the White Rabbit, which wasn't in the director's script. Up to that point, he tells Cash where to go and sometimes gives instructions on performing certain special tasks. Through Starkweather secretly plots to have him killed via the rabbit to tie up any loose ends that could link him to his illicit activities. Starkweather's personality is ultimately that of a perverted and immature sociopath who is utterly devoid of any form of moral compass, or empathy, or remorse. He is very impatient and shows absolutely no regard towards anyone's death, although he showed some annoyance of Cash killing the White Rabbit. However,
This was only because it ruined his plans to have Cash ultimately killed, so he would not be caught in his dodgy criminal activities. He gets very excited, possibly even sexually aroused, after Cash kills the hunter and becomes irritated to the point of throwing childish tantrums if Cash waits around too long, or seen by enemies a lot of times. He is also shown to be manipulative and dishonest, as Takewitha promised to release Cash if he participated in his snuff films. However, in reality, he was using him as a puppet and planning to have Cash murdered by the Smileys. Another example is after Crash rescues his family members, Starkweather heartlessly orders the innocents to execute the last surviving family member, regardless, and even sadistically claims that he is all the family Cash needs now, which this itself is why the death row inmate vows revenge. Starkweather is motivated not only by his sadistic and hedonistic impulses, but his own psychotic beliefs as well. Although he is producing snuff films for the black market, Starkweather still views himself as a great director and artist who is never wrong. Many of his quotes praising Cash executions revolve around the delusional belief that he will make him a star, and bragging that Cash will turn the slasher world on its head. Despite this, he still plans on having Cash killed, showing his dishonest care about his star at all. He previously used the notorious Pixie in his snuff films before Cash, but also shares the same fate with the director. Despite all the countless indirect murders he's technically committed, Starkweather ultimately proves himself to be a coward. He relies on Ramirez and the Cerberus for doing his dirty work for him.
Found guilty of capital punishment on the day of his execution after being on death row for 3 years, James Earl Cash is given a lethal injection, and the public believes him to be officially dead. However, he wakes up inside an abandoned coffee and donuts store in Casamark to find he was actually only sedated due to the works of Lionel Starkweather, also known as the director, who had bribed the prison officials. Cash is then forced to participate in one of the director's snuff films in exchange for his freedom. Cash has no trouble in killing a disorganized gang called the Hoods, consisting of street thugs, as he plows through their turf, brutally killing them off with ease until he is led to believe that he has finished his work. However, he is then ambushed by the Cerberus, who are on Starkweather's payroll, and is transported to another location. He is then dropped by the Cerberus at Denton's junkyard, where he must kill a more dangerous gang of white supremacists called the Skins. Cash wipes them out as he makes his way through the location using a crane to clear the path ahead and reaches the exit. He is once again subdued and picked up by the Cerberus before being driven to the next location. Next, Cash must face a gang of war veterans known as the War Dogs at the Casa City Zoo. Until he learns they have his family hostage, he manages to save at least one member out of the four, depends on the player of course, and kills all the War Dogs at the location. Now Cash arrives at the mall because the director has arranged a special screening for him. He must find a tape and a video camera in Gaza City Mall while shooting out with a gang of satanic Latino criminals and overweight perverts called the Innocents. Once all the gang members are dead, Cash watches the VCR tape, which turns out to be footage of his one last remaining family member being murdered by an innocent member with a machete. In a fit of rage,
Cash picked up the CRTV and violently slammed it against the ground, smashing it to pieces. Knowing the director is tricking him once more time, vows revenge. Cash then found himself on the main streets of East Los Alamos and was teamed up with a drunken homeless man. Much to dismay, Starkweather instructs him to escort the tramp to a cemetery while slaughtering more innocents along the way. He is then forced to clear out the remaining innocents at the Carcer Chem factory, and after succeeding tries to make a run for it, but is caught once again by Sir Perez. Cash is then dragged back to Darkwood's prison to face his former fellow inmates, who have completely taken over the asylum and call themselves the Smileys. Most of them have become completely insane and detached from reality following the takeover, murdering all prison guards and psychiatric nurses and staff. Cash makes his way through the deserted asylum, killing many of the Smileys until coming across the White Rabbit, who Cash is told to follow. The rabbit leads Cash into many traps where he is attacked by the Smileys until he enters one room filled with several more Smileys armed with shotguns, which is the point where Starkweather had planned for Cash to die, thus betraying him entirely. However, through sheer skill and bloodlust, Cash manages to stay alive and slaughter the last remaining Smiley and kill the White Rabbit. Some of the Cerberus assigned to finish him off if the Smileys failed, and finally Cash finally breaks free of the Cerberus and escapes from the prison. Now Cash is on the run from Starkweather, who sends Ramirez out to capture him, which he does, but decides to toy with Cash. First, Cash is placed in a fenced-out yard outside the War Dog's apartment for the remaining War Dogs to hunt him down. Cash soon kills them and enters the apartment building, killing the rest of the War Dogs and Ramirez himself in the process. After finally killing Ramirez, Cash escapes the location by running through the entrance door. Several gunshots are heard, however, meaning the War Dogs are not completely wiped out, unlike the previous gangs. While attempting to escape, Cash is suddenly picked up by the journalist, and he helps her by escorting the woman to her apartment in Central to gather evidence to bring down Starkweather along the way. He kills many CCPT officers who have saturated the neighborhood, following orders from corrupt police chief Gary Schaefer to kill them both, who was himself given the order by the director, although the opening cutscene of press coverage says he only want them being sent to him. After collecting all the evidence the journalist needed, Cash instructs her to immediately get out of the town safely, to which the journalist seems to be displeased with Cash's decision, as she says, "But you are not coming with me." When Cash tells her to leave, after saying goodbye, Cash decides to head to Starkweather's estate via the subway, battling the corrupt police force once more time, and making it all the way to the Stockyard train yard, where he is eventually cornered by a SWAT team. However, although Cash killed nearly all of them, he ultimately got surrounded, and then a squad of Cerberus killed the last remaining SWAT member before they can apprehend or kill Cash and recapture him for themselves for the last time. Cash is then locked up in the garage at Starkweather's palace, where the Cerberus plans to kill him for good, but manages to break free due to the deranged chainsaw-wielding man, Pixie. He distracts them and enters the mansion and kills the army of Cerberus, including the Cerberus leader, and makes his way up to Starkweather's office. While Cash is heading to Starkweather's office, he is suddenly ambushed again by Pixie and must kill him, which won't be easy. But after killing the deadly foe, Starkweather sends out the last few number of Cerberus to take down Cash, but they are all soon killed. Cash successfully breaks into Starkweather's office with Pixie's chainsaw, and shocked Starkweather falls to the ground but quickly arms himself with a revolver in attempt to defend himself. Starkweather will quickly change his mind and attempt to negotiate Cash, trying to spare him when he runs out of ammo. Finally, Cash manages to fatally injure Starkweather by slicing his stomach and exposing his guts while begging for mercy, and violently drives the chainsaw into his face, ultimately killing him once and for all. Cash then lodged the chainsaw into Starkweather's back, completing his dangerous quest and gotten the revenge he desperately needed. With his vengeance completed, Cash escapes from the mansion before the police arrive and is never seen or heard from again. After the incidents of Manhunt, when the journalist tells the psychiatrist that Cash is still alive, the psychiatrist reveals that no one has even seen Cash since his execution. 2 weeks before the journalist was committed to a psychiatric hospital, he is still on the run, and his whereabouts and current activity are completely unknown. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's too disturbing and dark game, but one of the best psychological horror game that you will ever experience. I really had so much fun. I really had so much fun making this video for you guys. I hope you give a like and subscribe and support this channel. Thank you so much for your time, and see you again in the next video.